Dan, that was a heavy defeat on Friday night, a heavy defeat again today. Does this one hang as heavily?
I think they all do. I think probably particularly the last game against Surrey, where we asked the batting group to go out there and play with real freedom, and that's what they managed to do, and they were exceptional on that night. And I think you come up against Finch and Roy, you understand how aggressive they're going to be and they're going to take the game to you, but to not be able to, I suppose, string good balls together consistently against them meant that they were able to play in that manner, and that allowed them to score so freely and so easily. So I think the other night was probably pretty frustrating.
Did the start of today's match come off the back of the last game in terms of that big hitting that we saw at the Oval? Obviously batsmen want to go out there and achieve it themselves, but maybe the track wasn't there to do that today.
I think you have to learn pretty quickly around the wicket, and we still want our batsmen to play with that freedom, because if you don't and the wicket is different as you expect, then it's you could be behind the run rate. So we allow that expression and hope that guys can come off, but the wicket, probably coupled with some really good bowling, meant that we were put under so much pressure.
That one probably does mean it's done for Middlesex now with 4 games to go. Is it about taking this group forward, which was obviously what you were looking to do this year and last, to help them move on in T20 cricket, which obviously they've had a history of being not great at in terms of the results. Are you seeing enough progress from them?
I think ultimately you have to see the progress in the results, and I think that's the thing that will be judged on, and everyone within Middlesex will be judged on. So the progress hasn't been there. You can look at individuals and individual performances and be happy at times, but I think ultimately it's the team performance that's let us down.
Can you put your finger on why?
Not really. I think we've had a lot of changes throughout the year, a lot of personnel in and out, so that plays an aspect to it. But I think their ability to actually sum up a situation and then put all 3 facets together in one game has been the thing that's probably let us down this season.
You lost Ashton for today, obviously called up by Australia. Have you had the tools at your disposal? Have you got the big enough hitters to do what some of the opposition batsmen have done to Middlesex?
Well, I think we've definitely learned from how other teams have played against us, how aggressive teams have been, and as I said against Surrey, that was our game plan. It's probably been our game plan the whole season, to be as aggressive as possible. And you see how well teams, particularly like Somerset, have played in that manner. And they've probably got 6 or 7, even 8 guys who have the ability to just keep coming and coming. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that with our own batting.
Is that something that has to be thought about next year in terms of the planning? Is it batsmen that need to come in to support Sterling and Morgan? And I mean, Morgan and Milan over the years, they've been trading places, haven't they? So it's either Sterling and one or the others as the really big hitters.
I think so. I think there's an element to that. There's also looking at the likes of Fuller and seeing what his best role is. I think whenever given the opportunity, in all formats of cricket, he seems to excel. So he's the sort of guy that you could look at and say, from a batting perspective, he's starting to understand his game and can perform a role for us.
Is that the plan for the next 4 games now, to see how to gel this team together going into next year, and what ingredients may be needed as those overseas for next year?
Possibly. I think there's obviously some young players within the Middlesex squad as well that we can have a look at. Obviously Robbie White's coming to the team. Max Holden's had a chance throughout the season, and we'll just, I suppose, assess what needs to be done in these 4 games, whether it's a case of we're going for the all-out win, or it's actually trying to blood some young guys in and see if they're worthwhile experimenting with.
When you picked up the side, Middlesex had just changed head coach, or the departure of the head coach. Do you have to be careful in the next 4 games before you hand back the side in terms of the mindset of the players? Because they've obviously got a big end to the season to come in the Championship as well. And I guess looking after the mentally obviously is a big part of the game as well.
I think so. I think what happens is a lot of guys in the team have a real understanding of their 4-day cricket, and probably the personnel that comes back in, the likes of Tamura, they bring something to the group. So I think the guys will be good, and I think part of cricket these days is managing the mental side of format change all the time. So look, I think it takes one good performance for someone to feel good, and hopefully we get that in these next 4 games.
How do they feel? I mean, it's a daft question. How do they feel after these? So obviously not great, but would you be worried about them after these 2 in terms of, do you need to get them to have a break for a few days before that next game so it doesn't wear too heavily on their shoulders?
No, I think the way we deal with them, the way we review and the way we talk to players is always trying to be positive and understand what they've actually done well in the game. And that's the nature of any format of cricket. There'll be guys in the room feeling good about themselves because they've actually performed, they've done their role. And there'll be guys feeling terrible because they feel like they've let themselves down and let the team down. So it's managing all 11 players plus the guys outside of the group, rather than just a broad team dynamic.